For those over on the WikiTree platform, 2021 has been the year of accuracy, and I was fortunate enough to be one of their celebrity guests where WikiTreeers worked on my family tree to see what discoveries they can make. Today, I'm going to talk to you about some of my reactions to discovery they've made and let you know I haven't even processed all of them. It was such a great experience. For those of you joining us for the first time, my name is Devon Noel Lee. I'm a family history fanatic and a brownie addict, but I love to help you climb your family tree. And it's not often that someone tries to help me climb mine. And that's why it was really great to be a part of the WikiTree 2021 Year of Accuracy Challenge. So let's go over a number of things that the WikiTreeers did to help my tree grow. Now, before we tackle some of the things that I found interesting over the fraction of the discoveries people made, I do want to express my profound gratitude. I truly believe the power of the crowd can help us build more accurate family trees, and it was an honor to be selected and have somebody else review some of my work. And as you'll see later in this video, it was nice to have somebody say, now, how do you know that was to be true? Now, the goal of this challenge was to help the celebrities that are selected every week in 2021 to extend their 4 family lines. So my Geisler, my Zemstein, my Brown, and my Long, which really is a Hankinson because Louise was adopted a few days after she was born. Her biological father, as we found through DNA, I've got to make a DNA symbol. There we go. He was found through DNA and my husband's help. He was actually Delbert Hankinson, and a lot of researchers took on this line. Now, few people could extend this line very far, but I did see a few commentary in the William Anderson profile to talk about who he migrated with, and I thought that was a great addition to the research process, so thank you very much. The other lines people worked on, I didn't see them work very much on these 2 lines, and that's okay. If there was work done, then I need to go back and look at my notes again, or somebody can send me an email, you know where it is, and if you can't find it, it's over on our website. But a lot of work was done on my comfort line. A number of really cool finds were discovered on the Zemstein line. Attempts were made on the Peak line. The Townley line, it's off the screen and I'm trying to make it go way, way far. That went really, really far back in history. And it's cool because with my Townleys, you may have watched the John Townley brick wall series that I did. And it was kind of fun that somebody actually took my brick wall methodology and stuck it in as a source citation. So it was fun to be my own source. So it was really fun to see that this one can go back very far. I think the Peaks have a little bit of Welsh and the Townleys go pretty far back. I knew as soon as you got into the Effingham individual from England, the line would probably go back pretty far. So it was nice to see that. And finally, a smidge of work was done on the Geislers, not so much on these Germans, and that's okay because they're really hard. I consider that as well. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the discoveries that were made. So here we're going to go look at my Zemstein line. So the Zemstein line, as some of you know, this is my Professor Zemstein who taught at Ohio State University, the University of Michigan, and got a degree from the University of Iowa when it was called a different name. So if I go in and click on my Zemsteins, I'm going to click on the tree. And the thing that was super exciting, I can't even begin to thank Dieter, one of the researchers who worked on this line, was primarily all of the folks in my family know about this couple right here. And this couple had a great big stop sign because those who could read German weren't interested in genealogy, and those who were interested in genealogy couldn't read German. And the other thing is that access to German church records when you lived in Canada or the United States wasn't easy until recently when Ancestry released their German Lutheran church record collection online. So I'm so thankful that a volunteer named Dieter was able to come and extend this line several generations. It was really exciting. So let's look at the profile for Filipina Molter. Now, he actually picked up the name Maria. Oh, I just said that like a Spanish person. I need to practice my German accent for Maria. But he picked up the first name Maria. We've always called her Filipina or Phoebe Molter. So going down here, I like that he found the marriage record. We had known for quite some time that they had married on December 17th, 1815. It was in, I believe, family Bibles and also a lot of Zemstein family records that had been kept by the genealogist, like my great aunt Dorothy. So he found a marriage certificate in or register in Obermeierstu, where we all know that this family was from. So I'm pretty confident this is the right thing. I like that he put the information in English, and then he also has the German transcription there as well. There are also other people in this record and where they're from, and that's how he's able to extend the line. Now, there was one thing that you might find it a little bit difficult when you're working between different countries. When I clicked on his citation to the ancestry image, it went to the German version, and I don't have access to the German version. But I was able to figure out where it is in the American version, and I was able to save it to my family tree. So one of the things I need to do in the future is make a source citation that looks like this one, even though the DE is for Germany, for German websites. If I make the source citation look like this for this one up here, then no matter what country's variation that you have of Ancestry.com, you will be able to navigate to that. So thanks for the find. Now I gotta go change that citation. Now, one of the things we didn't have before was the Johann Michael Molter and Anna Maria Müller Molter. So if I click on there, you can see that they've extended the line even further. I love that there's a location and it's written in the German with the umlauts and the other accent marks. And there are, oh, I'm just so excited, a husband of this person, husband of that person, a bit of the biography, that transcription before, and then all of these citations where I can go and see the records. So Paul Zemstein and Maria now goes back to Johann Michael and Jacob Molter, and I think this goes back even one more. Yay, that's just really exciting. It pays to know another language. Now, the one discovery that left me speechless had to do with my Comfort family line. Now, I don't do a lot of research on my Comfort family line, particularly because there are a lot of people researching the Comfort family line. And there are 2 books that have been published about the Comforts of Canada. But when I click through to see Alonzo Comfort, and I click on his tree, there weren't any extensions done on the tree. And in fact, originally during the broadcast, these folks right here weren't included. And I thought, well, why is that? So when I looked, I've actually made a change since that day. And I don't want to go and make a live change. I changed it back so I could teach, and then I changed it back so it could be accurate. What had happened was the father, the son of an Adgel, was left blank. Yet in the note, the researcher said Eithamer was born in 1832, the likely son of this person and this person. So they left links for me to go to that tree, but in the pedigree, they didn't connect the people in the pedigree until I could prove that that was accurate. And for me, at first I was like, oh, why didn't you do that? Well, then I had to go look for a citation. So I did, and it was from there is a published family history for the Comfort family, and this one actually links to another one called the Comfort Families of America that's over on Family Search. And between the two of those books, I had the published family history that the Comforts keep saying these are the lineage. And in a future video, we're going to talk about how reliable those family history books are. But because I was able to add a citation to this book, this was actually the one that's over on Family Search. When I added that link there, then I went ahead and made the change so that Jacob and Abigail are there, and then I can have my comfort line so far. So you're thinking, oh, that wasn't really a discovery. Oh, but wait. It gets really good. So when I clicked on Jacob, I was able to see this note, details about the properties where the Comfort family lived and worked in Upper Canada. Now that piqued my interest, and this is what I saw during the broadcast. So I click on that, and then I come to this page. So here's the zoomed out version of it, and then I'm going to zoom in so we can actually read some of the cool things that are here. So the first thing is 2 Comfort families moved to Upper Canada from New York State, and there's the dates, specifically to Gainsborough, Lincoln County, which is part of the Niagara region. So these are things that I knew, but another researcher figured it out, so good job. It's peer review at its finest. As you would expect, this area is close to Niagara Falls and the border between Upper Canada and the American border. And then there's this link to go and learn more about it. Now that was a really cool addition. I think this person who created this biography was being very well thought out about adding historical context, but then it gets better. So the next sections are divided into subcategories. So the original comforts to Lincoln County, land grants, the great fence disputes, other tidbits, discoveries. So I love how here the researcher went and picked up on the United Empire Loyalist relatives right there. That is a really big thing that whenever I have spoken to my Comfort and Zemstein ancestors, that they are very, very proud of. And so they picked up on that and put that there. And then goes and talks about how they got there. So there's this first family, the one I do know about, and a second family. What I like about here that the researcher did, who may or may not be directly related to the previous family. Well, that tells me, I want you to know about this, but I haven't proven the relationship, and here's a new place you might want to do some research. So whenever I get in the mood to work on my Canadian relatives, I could actually come and maybe tackle this as a research project. So well done. If you ever have some theories, make sure you make it clear. Who may or may not be related, that is great terminology to let other research know that there's something you want to explore right there. So then the next section is the land grants. I love that not only did the person on this biography, this volunteer, tell me about the different land grants that they found, and I also like future relatives, sea fence dispute. I love this. This researcher really wants to get you excited by how they wrote this profile. So I love this. But they also, these links I thought was just going to hop down to a citation. No, they go directly to the library archives so I can actually see the records. So it's one thing just to write a citation. It's another thing to make it super easy to navigate to. So go to one more. Here it is. Here's the link. Here's the image. Have at it and read it. So well done. So excited. The next is this story. So I'm going to make sure that I leave a link to this story in the description box. But I love this. Robert Comfort and his neighbor, Nathan Johnson share a fence line, originally based on the corner post set by the original survey of Robert's property in 1796. And then it goes through and talks about how they had a bench dispute, and what's even more interesting is how intertwined the Comforts and the Johnsons are. So I guess they settled it, and some family got past the feud. So great story. Love further evidence of what's going on. Well done, volunteers. And then my favorite part is the maps. So this is one of the maps. This is the Ontario Clinton area. And they picked up on the Snyders. So Ithamar married an Abigail Snyder, so they're intertwined. And then we also have the Comforts, so Comforts and Snyders. And then down here we also have Moots. So Comfort, Snyders, Moots, and some others on the next map. They're all intertwined on my family tree. And to see them and where they're located on this map, highlighted by the different colors that a volunteer did, it's exciting. I don't know I have no words. I'm still speechless on how excited this, well, yeah, I can talk, but I don't know how to put it into words how exciting these were. The other map was this one, and I had seen this map before, particularly because this is Robert Victor, the professor's home. And across the street is where his wife lived. If you scroll over a little bit, this is the one-room schoolhouse that they attended together, and eventually, between the familiarity of the families, you can see the little farm here, and then that's all of the farmable this is the land that they farmed, and this is the house in the homestead area. It's right across the street from the Comforts, and they did fall in love in this area. And then if you scroll a little bit over here, this is the church they attended in the cemetery that the Comforts and the Zemsteins are all buried in. But what's really great is you can see all of these colors. When I said the lanes and the Comforts and the Moots were all intertwined, now you can see all the colors all over. Plus another family that I hadn't really paid attention to before, the Pattersons, but the other researcher said, hey, you need to know about this. And that's what made it really exciting. So I love the visuals. I love the storytelling. I love the links to all of those Canadian records. Thank you so much. Now we get to my peaks. And my peaks are from Kentucky. And it wasn't, the lines didn't get pushed back very far. But what I really loved in this challenge was the humor in the struggle, is what I like to call it. So the volunteer there said, gosh, this family is so hard to research. He's not really familiar with researching in Kentucky and didn't know that it was a difficult area to research. And so it was nice to find camaraderie and fellowship in the struggle to build the Peak family line. So sometimes when you're doing collaborative work, make sure that you need to tell people the struggle you're having, because the other researcher goes, yeah, I know. Which brings me to another event that happened in Kentucky, and that was pertaining to my grandparents, Robert and Helen Geisler. So a researcher says, hey, I can't really put your grandparents' marriage date here, this June 4th, 1945. They said, I can't put a source for this, so I don't really want to put it as a proved fact yet, because I can't find a source. And I thought, well, that's odd. I mean, I know I got my grandparents' marriage date right and location. And then I went and thought, oh, that's the folks that eloped. So my grandfather and my grandmother eloped from Columbus, Ohio, and went to Covington, Kentucky. And I don't know if they actually had a marriage certificate. So I had to start thinking, all right, I have searched and searched for marriage records in Covington, Kentucky, and I haven't found anything, at least not online. I've tried to find the office that would have these records, and I haven't had much luck. So maybe in the future, when we do retire in about 8 years, we'll make a trip to Kentucky to see what happens. So then I had to go, well, where in the heck did I get this date? And that takes me to the memories I had of my mother's calendar. My mom was an excellent card sender for birthdays, anniversaries, and so forth. And so on the calendar, she had my grandmother's and my grandfather's marriage date, which would be her in-laws date. Now, why would she know that date? Well, in 1977, my mother began doing genealogy research, and I did have notes of when she interviewed Helen Geisler, and Helen told her that she and my grandpa Bob eloped to Covington, and that was the date. And from that point forward, in my books of remembrances or any of the family trees that I copied, I was always putting that date. That's the date that my mother had gotten from her mother-in-law. And when I went and put the tree online, and my mother and I, who lived in different states, could look at the dates, she always made sure that her dates were right and the dates that she absolutely knew from her calendar were correct. So is that good enough? For me, I'm going to go ahead and put a citation for personal knowledge of me from the handed down from my mother and my grandmother. And I think that's going to have to be good enough, because since they did elope, I'm not entirely sure if there is an actual record for it. But what was really great in this experience is that I hadn't put it on Family Search, the citation of where we got that information, and I don't have it on my public tree in Ancestry as well. So other people might start questioning whether I'm a quality researcher. And in fact, what I have done is I've worked so much on the distant lines that I forgot to document that one little bit of detail. So going through this process was really kind of great to make sure that I have the citations I'm supposed to have. But this video is getting long, and there's still more things that I am still working my way through. Overall, I thought it was a really great experience. Why? Well, for one, you can find camaraderie in your difficulties. Two, sometimes people have more knowledge about a certain area of research, and then they can push your line back forward when you haven't been able to do so before. 3, new ideas of how to present information. Those maps produced by Greg, color coding all the lands of all the different family members that are so intertwined in the story of the Comforts in Canada, was something I know I wanted to do, but I loved how he took it beyond my wildest dreams. Now, WikiTree has already selected its slate of other celebrities for the rest of 2021, and I know some of you have said, hey, I would love them to work on my tree. I'm not necessarily sure that that's going to be the best benefit for you and your family tree, but I do have a recommendation. Make sure that you watch some of the live streams and look at the chat and see the progress people are making on the WikiTree. And maybe you can do this in a genealogy society. How great would it be to take a different member of your society, either once a week or maybe once a month, and have everybody work on different lines of that person's tree, because you're going to build your skills, you're going to build camaraderie, and you might break some brick walls down together. So use the year of accuracy on WikiTree as an example of something you can do in your society. Now, if you're ready to learn the 5 reasons you should be using WikiTree, go ahead and check out this video that's up there. And if you're ready for something new, check out the playlist below. So I am so grateful to have been a part of that challenge. I hope that I've said the grateful enough.